show and tell. So we got, you want to go first after Bill?
You tell me the matter.
Okay. Anybody else have any show and tell to demonstrate at all? Okay, and then I'm gonna have two separate announcements, and then we have another one at the very end for members only then. So, Bill, we're gonna let you get started, and then he has his end table up there.
That up there where you can see it. Some time ago, tell me if you can't hear me too, by the way, because I get soft once in a while. Some time ago, my wife and I we got some pieces of wood for a little project, and we had wood left over, and I had one board and some scrap. And so I laid around for a while, and what are we going to do with it? And she said, well, make me an end table. So here we go. This wood come out of an oak tree that had 193 rings on it. And so if you go back, that's before Abraham Lincoln came to Illinois, that tree was alive. This wood may not be that old. Anyway, so we started looking and measuring and seeing what we had, and thought we could make a table about this size. And we measured some of our other tables and things like that to see what size we could make, and what are we going to use it for? I don't know how your wives are, but my wife likes to pile things under here, and it kind of collects up. So that made a difference on where we put this shelf, whether it was up here or down here. And you see where it ended up. And then where are we going to put it? Whether it's a wood floor or a carpet floor. Well, we decided on a carpet. So when we decided that, we decided we don't want one of these little bitty round things sitting in the carpet all the time. So I made these a little bigger on the bottom to set in the carpet, just so it doesn't pack it down quite as bad. I think that worked. It's better, I think, because of that. Any questions along the way, too, let me know. Both ends of these legs here are mortise and tenon into both shelves. And on the braces on the end here, there's a mortise and tenon on each end of that into these legs. And then, I don't know if you can see it or not, but inside the brace I put pocket holes to hold the top on.
Is the bottom the same window?
The bottom,
What pocket holes, or did you just...
no pocket
mortise
holes in the bottom.
Okay.
No, I'll get to that in a second.
Okay.
There is a mortise and tenon, though, into the shelf.
Okay.
Okay, and then you notice that I put these straight in line from here all the way down to the floor, and I did that for strength. And you can tell by looking at it, it's pretty strong. I tend to make things heavy when I make them instead of real thin. So, and then to cut these here, I borrowed this off of Rich Nichols, and you can bend this, tighten that strap down, then you can lay it on there on your board and put a nice straight line to cut by, if you can cut by the line. Sometimes that's an
How'd that
issue,
go?
yeah. I don't know what this tool's called, but
Wasn't very much.
called.
Oh.
Yeah, yeah.
So an arrow?
But it really worked nice for making these curves here. Now on these here, I didn't want to bend this that far, so I just used a string and a pencil on that and did those two. This is, I believe, what do you call it? Rough, not, what's the cut on this oak when it's vertical like this, the grain?
Quarter sawn?
Quarter sawn.
Okay.
This is quarter sawn oak, I believe. You guys can
So can you
respond.
see the flex and stuff on the top?
There are,
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah, so it's wide open.
Oh, yeah.
okay. That's what you're talking
Yeah,
about, isn't
yeah,
it?
the quarter sawn, yep.
Yeah.
The top and bottom shelf came out of the same board. This board was this long when I started. And I went to Roland's house because my planer was not wide enough, and I had him plane it a few times for me to get it started.
Tell us about the diamond.
This is walnut,
Yeah.
and it's just inlaid in there, a little less than a 1/16 of an inch.
Did you cut that by hand?
I did,
Wow.
yeah. You mean the diamond?
Yeah, the
Yeah.
diamonds and also
The diamond
insert
and
for
the
the
hole.
diamond.
Yeah, that's not very much fun. But it worked,
Yeah.
just like everything else. You take your time on it and it
Yeah.
comes out all right, so.
So did you do you did drew your lines and then used a router to do the basic line and then chiseled it out, or did you just go straight using the chisel?
I made the diamonds first, and then I used my sharp knife to outline it,
Okay.
okay? And then I went inside that, just with chisels and, yeah, because I'm not real accurate with a router. You know, we take off down the way. So this was one piece, the two shelves, and the rest of it was all scrap.
Quick question.
Yes,
Did you come up with that design yourself, or were you copying a famous piece?
no. Is it famous?
It is now.
Well, it reminds me of pieces I've seen in Wood Magazine. It's very nicely done. So you came up with it yourself. That's great.
The reason that I cut these in here was because when I put these 4 boards together, they were getting heavy. So I wanted to lighten that a little and maintain the strength across here, where under the shelf. And these mortise or tenons are about a quarter short on each side of the sides, so they're pretty long going in there.
And then you cut the tenons by hand?
I did. Yeah. And then on the bottom, these are just blocks of the scrap that I had. And I probably went out of bounds when I did this, but I put 2 screws in each one of these before I put the legs on. The legs are inset about 1/8 of an inch into the bottom of this.
Do you have your touch mark on it?
My what, Mark?
Touch mark, the maker, saying that you made it.
No, I
So
don't.
you can steal it, is what he's saying. You can steal it.
You need to.
Let's see what else I got here.
How did you fasten those bottom legs?
They're glued. That's all. If I ever need to get to those screws, you know, I can pop them off, and I thought they might pop off anyway. But I just wanted to show you that if you're thinking this thing is weak,
Oh, boy.
it's not.
It could have been an embarrassing moment.
I tried it at home first. That's all I got. Any questions, anybody?
What's your finish?
Tongue oil.
Tongue oil only?
2 or 3 coats of tongue oil, I think is about all I
Okay.
got on it. Yeah.
Looks fantastic.
My wife likes them kind of plain, not too shiny, so that's where we go.
Did you cut the chamfers on a table saw or with a router?
Table saw. And then I worked on them with a plane and everything
Okay.
else.
They're nice big chamfers, they look nice.
Thank you, thank you.
And then the curves, you cut them with a bandsaw?
I got a bandsaw.
Okay.
Yeah, little bandsaw. Like I said, this thing here really made a difference
Yeah.
on these. It made it work, is what it did, and they were all the same. So all I had to do was stay on the line, and it worked good.
Did you cut one and then use it for a pattern?
Nope. Nope. I measured each one of them, because I wanted this little space right up here to stay there,
Mhm.
to support that tenon that I had there.
And then how did you sand it to the line after you cut your line there?
This here,
Yeah.
orbital sander. Oh,
Skill.
yeah.
Skill.
So not a circular barrel sander or anything, so.
You know what?
Okay.
I do have that, and I did use that some, but I finished it with an orbital. Fox, Bob, is that his name?
Yeah.
I have Bob Fox's old spindle sander, and I did use that on that. I'm glad you brought that up. So, that's all I have.
Well, that
Very
helped.
nice. Very nice.
That helped you, Bill, but it probably would hold a truck too. I think you made it strong enough. That's nice.
Yeah, it ended up strong.
Yes, very nice. Now you need another one of them to make
Oh, don't say
entails.
that.
Yeah,
That's I didn't say, the oak that is in that came from a friend of mine's machine shed, and it literally was laying in the dirt when he gave it to me.
Nice.
So,
How many hours did it take you to make?
oh, I don't know, a while. I didn't keep track.
Don't ask a woodworker.
All right, Bob, if you want to go up?
Yeah, let's do the.
A few weeks ago, I was flipping through some old wood
Okay,
magazines.
Bob's talking.
I had an 8-year-old wood magazine, and there was a brief article in there about a woodworkers club in Iowa that built 100 urns for the remains of unclaimed veterans for their local national cemetery. And it was pretty moving to me to find out that they had that need. And so the next day I called our Camp Butler National Cemetery, and I got on the phone with the assistant director, and I told him the story that I read, and he said, yes, they have lots. In fact, in December, they had the remains of 13 unclaimed veterans. And when there's an unclaimed veteran, they get buried in this plastic box. We have any veterans here? We need to do better for our veterans, right? This is not acceptable for our veterans. So I downloaded the plans, and I went out and met with the director and the assistant director and understand the need and so forth. And so I told him that I was going to do this. Well, then I got to thinking, this could be a club project, right? This whole club might want to get involved. So I called Mike that afternoon, and he said, we happen to have a board meeting tonight. If you want to come tonight to the board meeting and talk to the board. And so I thought, well, I want to do that, but I better build one. So I built one real quick that afternoon.
That afternoon.
Yes, that afternoon. Wow. It was still wet when I took it in, right? You guys remember that, right? It was still,
Yeah.
It was still tacky.
Pretty sticky.
It was still a little tacky, but this is what it looks like, right? So this is all glued together except the bottom is screwed. And so you just take the 4 screws out, this drops right inside, you put the bottom back on, and now we can have this to honor our veteran. I think that's a little more dignified, and our veterans deserve that. And so now this is what would get either put into the columbaria, or would get buried in the ground directly, or would get buried in a casket. Normally, they're going to go in the columbaria for unclaimed veterans. They had so many back in December. They had 13, and they decided that they actually changed their policy on the way they do. Camp Butler's going to change their policy on the way they do things. They used to wait till they had a bunch, and they would have a single ceremony with these plastic boxes. They decided that they will no longer do that. They'll do each one as they get it. And I've committed, and I got Mike's approval, the board's approval. The board was 100% unanimous that they wanted to be involved in this, and the group do this. And so what I'm offering up is my shop, and my tools to do it. Graciously at the board meeting, Ben and Ralph both graciously offered up lumber, and I went out to their house, and between the two of them, they gave me over 120 board feet of white oak and a little bit of red oak, which I quickly turned into sawdust over the next couple days. But the board is 100% on board, wants to be involved. So I'm offering up my shop. All you got to do is call me, and I've made cards that you can just call me and come out to the shop. Come out one at a time, two at a time, five at a time. I don't care. I've already made a bunch of parts. This is the IKEA version of this. Okay, so I've set up my equipment that we can mass produce these fairly quickly. There you go. Add 4 feet to the bottom and it's done. I've already made 186 of these parts. They're all labeled and they're all ready to be finished milled. I still have, so I have 9 that are completely ready like this, but I have all the rest need grooves and need roundovers and need chamfers and then need filled and sanded and glued together and nailed together and then finished. Who wants to help? Awesome.
You wanna try to make a day that might be
We
good
can
for
just
you, and then
pass those around.
whoever.
So here's what I'm willing to do. I'm willing to take a day and we can set a date and everybody come. I'm also willing to, if you decide, hey, I want to help you and a buddy, call me up and say, hey, we can be there 10 o'clock on Tuesday. Awesome. I'm available most of the time. Anybody still have a day job? If you have a day job, 1, I'm sorry, but 2, if you still have a day job and you want to work in the evening, I'll make myself available and my shop available in the evening. I feel very strongly about this, and we need to do this for our veterans. So I called the assistant director the other day back, and I told him that I'd gotten approval from the club, and he was ecstatic about that. And I asked him about putting some sort of a tag on it. I talked to Terry yesterday, I guess it was, and Terry has graciously offered to make up, we're going to make roughly, give or take, 1x4. He's going to laser engrave. It's going to say, thank you for your service, Capillary Woodworkers Guild, and it's going to go on the bottom of this. And it was the assistant director of Campbell National Cemetery's idea to do that, because he said it will become a talking point, because people will see these and they'll see the tag and they'll know where they came from. And that might drive some folks, our way. So I appreciate anybody that wants to help. And like I said, if you call me up and say, hey, I want to come on Wednesday or Thursday or whatever, we'll work something out. Or like Ben was alluding to, I forgot to tell you the other thing. So he hooked me up with a woman who is a big supporter of the various veterans associations. And she invited me on May the 28th to the Inter-Veterans Council meeting at the Navy Club in Springfield. And she said, once I explain this project to that group, she said, we'll have more money than we can spend to do these. So, we'll need to buy wood probably going forward. I'm hoping to get reimbursed for some of the stuff. I mean, I'll offer up my shop, but I bought sandpaper and I bought a gallon of glue. And I don't even have $100 probably in that stuff combined. So it's not an expensive project by any stretch, but we owe this to our veterans for sure to do this. So.
And Bob, didn't you mention they were going to put the branch of service?
So yeah, so the National Cemetery are going to supply, I think they're 3-inch or 2.5-inch emblems for each branch of the service. So they have them for all 6 of the branches, and they'll put one of those on the surface of they'll just super glue it or whatever that's on the surface of it.
Where do they keep those?
Where the empty one?
No, the remains, where do they keep those?
They have a columbaria, which is just a giant building, and you go in and there's walls with vaults in them, and they put them in the vaults. or they bury them in the ground. They direct bury them in the ground. They take this thing, they'll take this and put it in a plastic bag, waterproof plastic bag, and then they bury it in the ground. But right now they do this, and that's not acceptable.
Are you putting a finish on?
Yes, so that's the thing I haven't bought yet, and we can talk about that, what that looks like, or whatever. I'm a big fan of just some simple Minwax wipe-on poly, but I'm not married to any of those. But because you wipe it on, you don't have to worry about runs, drips, airs, and all that, and you let it dry, sand it out at 220, one more time, and you're done. If we want to use other finishes, I'm open to anything really, but it needs some kind of a finish on it because they will go. So again, thanks to Ben and Ralph, gave me lumber to get started. I got started, and I kind of surprised Terry a while ago because I showed him a picture of my shed or my shop with all the pieces laying out because he thought that's what the group was going to come do. I couldn't stop myself from going. Keep working myself. And at one point, my wife spent 6 hours on the outfeed side of my table saw, my joiner, my planer, and my sander. So
You owe her.
she owes the veterans, so that was what I said.
She was probably asking you to spend more time with her.
No, that's not it. 41 years, you know.
Of course.
No.
You make her mad, she may put you in one of those spots.
That's fine. I've told her for years I was going to build ours anyway, so it doesn't matter to me. So,
Would it make any sense to like pick a couple of days and have people kind of sign up?
Yeah. Makes
Because I wouldn't know anybody to call and say, hey, let's go out to Bob's today. But if I knew that there was some days.
sure.
when
I'm
other people-
good with whatever you guys want to do. I'm available most all mornings up till about mid-afternoon, and there are just some afternoons where my granddaughter has a track meet and I got to go to that. But other than that, this is the highlight of my month. So
Don't you have a meeting on your Friday morning neighborhood group?
yeah, the Hilltop Gang meeting we call it. The 3 old guys get together and solve the problems of the world for a couple hours in the morning. But that can always change. We can always change that.
Thanks, Bob.
Yeah, so you guys want to set dates or just call me or whatever, makes no difference to me.
It would be nice to set a date, and then anybody could
Well, let's,
call
yeah.
also for
Let's do
a
it.
small group.
Get started that way.
I can't start till 8 o'clock or so tonight, but
So do we want to do that as the officers and then put it out? Here's some dates.
well, we need to get some more done because they are waiting on some. They have remains right now waiting. So you guys tell me what you want to do or what works best for
Or
you.
you wanting to do it during the week or weekends or?
I'm retired, so I'll do whatever. I'm ready in the morning if you want to come.
Well, I'm one of those poor souls that still has to work, so.
I'm so sorry. Now, I forgot to mention, now, Bob, when I mentioned this at the meeting, Bob had mentioned that you were already involved in a big day where they did.
Yeah, I went in 2017, I went to Des Moines, Iowa to Wood Magazine. They had
So it's the one that this article was written about.
yeah, and we
You
made.
made 100 that day.
We made 100 in about an hour.
I don't know how you can make 100 in an hour because I have.
Well, they had to, like you, they kind of had blanks.
Oh, they've already blanked
Well,
out.
they had some blanks ready. All we did was chop them, and we just had an assembly line of people. One person cut them to length, the next person put a round over on them, the next
Yeah.
person.
And
went right
I've
down.
set up. I've got one table saw set up to do grooves. It's set up with a big tag right now that says "Don't adjust." My wife made fun of me for that. And then a router table set up for roundovers. I've got it, and I made this afternoon. I made jigs to be able to put it together quickly without having to measure anything.
Right.
So it should be efficient.
Yeah.
So if you come, I would ask you to bring your whatever personal protection equipment you need. Eyes, ears, gloves, apron, whatever you are comfortable wearing, because I won't have enough for that stuff, and it will be noisy, obviously.
Okay.
And if you have a 5-inch Rain-Orbital sander that takes hook and loop paper, that would be a good idea, because I only have a couple. of those. So. Other than that, everything else I have. So tell me, what do you want to do? How do you want to pick a date?
How about Friday and Saturday?
This week?
Yeah. You said we were just waiting for a couple of them, right?
They're waiting. Yeah, they have a need for a few right now. So
Yeah.
I'm available. What time?
Can you kill the lights?
What time Friday?
When's your meeting over?
11.
Okay. So, how about 12?
Noon to 4.
Noon to 4?
Perfect.
Okay, Friday, noon to 4.
Yeah.
And then what, Saturday 9 to 1 or something, or what do you want?
Fine by me.
Sounds
Okay.
good.
Put me down Friday.
I am not. My dad is. So I don't know if I hope there were enough cards. Those cards that passed around. If
Yeah,
you want
there's
to.
a few extra right here.
Yeah, so if you want to call me and you want to come at a different time, I'm open.
Are they gonna put them on, that if you get a time, like he's saying, then you can just, sign up for something?
They need cards at the back table, I think.
They need cards.
Okay.
So we're doing Friday at noon and Saturday at 9 a.m. All right, okay, awesome.
I'll send Dave a text asking him to put something out in email to everybody.
If those don't work for you and you want to come tomorrow, just call me.
Thanks, Bob.
Yep.
My apologies, I forgot to recognize the guests in the room. And so we have Steve and Barb visiting us. If you want to tell us about yourselves?
Well, he stole me when I was 14 years old.
Uh-oh.
This June, we've been married 55 years. And when I was like 16, I saw the woodwork that this man could do, and I was amazed. He did him and his dad built houses, and he did all the woodwork in the house in a dark pine, and I kid you not, it was like looking in a mirror. I said, I didn't know you
Put
could
the
do
schedule.
that. I got lots of plans for you.
Are there any other guests, new people here who've not been here before?
Hey, Bob, can I say one more thing?
Yeah, go ahead.
I forgot to say, it's not my intention that this is a one and done thing, that we do these 30 that we have and are done, that we can do this perpetually as they need more down the road. So that's the plan. So even if you don't get a chance to work this time, we'll do this more often.
Okay. I'm going to go through the schedule for the rest of the year, and there's some key points I want to mention to everybody, actually some good news for us. Tonight we had Bill. Bill, you did a phenomenal job on the end table. Thanks so much for doing that. In June, Eric Woolbright has put together a presentation, and it's entitled, How Do I Make My Work Stand Out Using Embellishments in Woodworking? And he had a little summary I'm going to read to you guys on how he's going to do it.
Okay. Bob, will
Yeah.
you move that way, please?
Go that way?
Yes.
Okay.
Can't see you with the window behind you.
Okay. So when I asked for his summary of this, he says, I plan to cover 5 things that make our work stand out: design, wood choices, craftsmanship, finish, and embellishments. He's going to focus on 7 embellishments I have used. I'll pass out a survey at the end asking what embellishments they would like covered in my open shop. I'm available the last week of June and the whole month of July for dates for the open shop. So let me know what you think. So I think this is kind of a novel idea that he's going to show us all these nice little techniques, and then you guys are going to give him the chance to pick which ones you want him to focus on at an open shop. later on, the end of June and July then. So I'm very pleased to have that. So we have that coming up, and then if you can go down a little bit farther then, Terry, please. Curtis right now is at Mark Adams. He's here this week. He's learning about finishing, and he's going to come back with some of his takeaways from his box building class and finishing. We have Jim Litwicki coming in from Freud Tools. He's going to talk about sandpaper and some of the tools they have at Freud. Luke Pearsall, he's, as you guys know, is supposed to come back in January, but we got snowed out. And he's going to come in, he's from Festool, he's going to talk about the domino joiner and sanders. And then November 4th, I think, did Mike mention this? We have a guy coming in with a pedal-driven scroll saw. He's going to show that to us.
There was something, I don't remember what it
Yeah,
was.
so we have to hook up with that guy, and that would be November. Then obviously, December's our election then with that. So if you could advance it, Terry. Okay, so the open shop, the one remaining in the year would be Eric's, once he gets a survey, and then we'll plan a weekend, a Saturday at his place. This just happened, and Gary Strigler, and we're working on this with Lincoln Land, and you can see that we also have Michael Fortune coming in November 1st and 2nd. That has been on the books now for about a month. It's locked in, also at Lincoln Land. And what we're doing is, we found out that they are going through a massive expansion and renovation of the entire construction program there. And they're looking for opportunities. And they're revitalizing, they're adding a huge workshop. I actually took a tour of it about 3 weeks ago. And it is huge. And they're gonna be buying all these new tools, they have all new classrooms, and they're looking for partners right now. And one of the things that we have that we can offer them is we have access to a lot of top-notch speakers, thanks to Mark Adams. And I had a sit-down meeting with the guy who's over the program, the director, and I was in there over an hour and a half with the guy. And he immediately committed to, he said, you know what, you guys can come on in, and we'll give you the space to do the program with Michael Fortune on November 1st and 2nd. That's a Saturday and a Sunday. And they're looking for more opportunities from us. But that's locked up right now. On Saturday, he's probably going to talk about bandsaws, all of his techniques, his tricks, his techniques with that, the jigs he makes for that. And then we have another option, another topic we can pick then for that Sunday. And he has several options in there, I think, is making jigs, clamping strategies, things like that. He actually gave me access to his Dropbox that has all of his presentations in it. And we'll probably have sit-down meetings with the board and then pick what we're gonna want. But I'm just pleased that Lincoln Land now wants to work with us. And I think this is gonna be something that's just not temporary. I think moving forward, we're gonna be given the chance. If we're gonna do a Saturday class and we're needing a lot of room, we can actually depend on Lincoln Land to give us support with that. And they're gonna be, in fact, I was talking to them about how they have their setup in their classrooms, how they present. And they have everybody standing around the workbenches. I said, well, at Mark Adams, they have 2 cameras focusing on the work, and the students can actually be in the chairs in the back. You can see everything. And he was really impressed by that. So I'm getting him set up with Mark Adams and how they set up their audiovisual with that. So they're willing to work with us. Gary Strigler, I don't know if anybody's taken this class at Mark Adams, but he's an expert trim carpenter, and he's well published. He was an advisor to Craig Tools, DeWalt, Tenaroo, and I know I'm missing somebody, but he's very well known in the industry. And that's something to kind of benefit them. They have a huge program there on building trades. You know, they have all kinds of carpentry programs there. And we have them committed right now, or they agreed to have them come in on October 20th, which is, I think, a Monday, and then the 21st is a Tuesday. And they're gonna pick the topic. It could be trim work, it could be making a huge high-end mantle, something of that sort. So that's geared more towards their students, and maybe they're gonna focus on actually going outside and actually inviting high school students to come in for these 2 days to do that. But we are allowed to attend with that. And what Gary told me is he actually has funding from a couple of vendors out there that will pay for almost all of his costs to do this. So I was blown away by that. So we're talking thousands of dollars, and they give them this money for probably 8 or 9 gigs in a year to do. And so he and I talked, he can make it these days, we just have to work out. The challenge we're facing right now is this director is so busy getting things up and running, getting the building done, getting the approvals for it, getting the students all ready, that he's busy doing that. But one option we might be able to do, and he did toss this out to us, he said, maybe if you guys want, you can meet out here for your monthly meetings. And I don't know how you guys feel about that, but they are willing to have all the AV tools we would like to have. So I know that would make Terry's job a lot easier. You just have to come in and sit down and push a few buttons and you're ready to go then with that. But so they're willing to work with us. The other side of the coin, and I kind of put this out there, and I said, what is pie in the sky for us is that we would like to have some kind of a shared workshop. And the gentleman said, that seems pretty reasonable. Let me look into that. Let me see if we can do that. So that might be an option for us then. So I was really blown away and just humbled by the fact that they are willing to work with us on this stuff. And we did provide with them 2 top-notch speakers. And Gary Strigler is going to meet their needs because this guy is very well published and he knows all the tips and tricks in trim work and everything. And so that's the good news, is that this is something we're working on. It's going to take some time. They're going to be busy building, putting in new tools, finishing up on the classrooms. And we're going to probably have to catch them when they have time and get the board in there and take a tour of it then. So, but we did ask them what are the next steps. And that's what we're working on right now. So it'd be nice if we can get all this done. They have to have all the workshops, classrooms done, I think, by the end of August before the students come back for the fall session. They want to make sure everything's done with it then. So, but at least, at a minimum, we're going to have the ability to do a Saturday, Sunday program at Lincoln Land if we give them enough advance notice. And I think it would be reasonable if we could also provide some more speakers that are going to meet their needs with their students too with it. And we're going to form a really good partnership with it. So, any questions on that? Go ahead, sir.
Is Lincoln Land looking to make that a degree program or like a certificate program?
They are more certificates, like 1 year, 2 year, things like that. They have, if you go to their website, they have different levels of carpenters. They have cabinet makers in there. And Gary Strigler is an expert at making cabinets, so that could be another class he can come in. If we could do this right, if we could lay it out pretty well, Gary, in theory, could come in once a year and lecture at Lincoln Land. Because he's retired now. And he comes out of Northwest Arkansas and he goes to Mark Adams. So that would be a great, we're almost right along the way for him to go from Arkansas to Indiana with that. So, good question. Yeah, but they have several programs out there though. And they put, when you put in over $2.6 million, that's a lot of stuff there. We just have to find time to squeeze in there and then work with them on that. So, okay. This is more educational as an FYI. Shape of Origin is making a huge commitment to getting into woodworking. They make the hand-controlled, computer-guided router system. It's all computer-driven. And they now have, and this is free, the only thing you have to do to get into the spot I'm gonna show you, just give your first and last name and your email. And then they had put together some experts called the Master Class. And they have, I think, 10 different classes that you can go through at your leisure. And they're like anywhere from 10 minutes to half-hour videos of different techniques. And there's one that they just put in, it's at the very bottom, and it's on steam bending. And he's Swiss, and so he does talk, I think, in German. But if you elect to go into this, when the video starts, you can go at the bottom, select CC, and then you have closed caption set up for you. But if you want to hit on that, and you can see the different topics. And go down a little bit, please. A little bit more. But these are the different topics here. Bending theory, hot iron, go down a little more. Freehand bending, hand bending. Roland, you might know more about this than I would, about this kind of bending. But they have 10 different classes that once you sign up, you can watch these at your leisure. And you might pick up some tips and tricks and techniques in these different areas. And so these are all free with that.
Did you say that's through Lincoln then?
This is not.
No, this is not.
Okay.
Yeah, this is through Shaper Tools.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but that's something you guys might find of interest when you want to learn about steam bending, But there's other, I think we can go through the list if you want to go back, Terry. We can go through the other topics. And I think when Dennis talked about live edge, I think we showed, they had some tips for how to select a live edge board, a live edge piece. Yeah, so you can see art, green and green, furniture design, surface design, marquetry. If you can go up a little bit, please. Yeah, hand tool woodworking, box making, start to finish. So they have got a good variety of classes that you can look at your leisure.
How do you access that?
You go to shapertools.com.
Shaper?
Yeah.
Shaper.
Shaper.
be in the
Shaper.
Yeah.
Shapertools.com.
Yeah, SHAP or shapertools.com, and then you go to Masterclass if you want to go back, Terry.
Okay.
You see Masterclass up here, John?
Okay.
Yeah. So they have other things. You can access everything on there. It's free. They're going to ask for your first name, last name, and then your email. But you go there, and then you go into the different topics with it. And so I was thinking, this is something you guys can look at if you have an interest
Well, that'd
in.
be something that would be posted on our website.
We could do that. Yeah.
Because I
Could you do that,
probably
Terry?
forget by the time I get home.
He's the IT guy.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. They actually have a list there in Shaper Hub of all the different projects you can put in there. That you can get the plans free for different items. And obviously the Shaper tool was used pretty heavily in some of those items now. So, but this is something that's free that you can access. So
That I can afford.
Okay. That's all I have. Does anybody else have any questions at all? Okay, all right. I think now we're going to, Steve and Barb, we talked about this, we're gonna have the members discussion here.
You got kind of a light night.
Yeah, light night, yeah.
Thank you for,
But next June, we're gonna be very busy. I guarantee you that.
Thank you for
Yeah.
allowing
Thanks
us
for
to
coming.
Yeah,